Do I look cute? I got Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Biden, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Biden, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Not a nickel, not a dime. Not a nickel, not a dime. I'm not paying for Israel's crimes. We are not for Israel's slaughter. We are not paying for Israel's slaughter. Joe Biden, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Ceasefire now. 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 Right now. What do we want? Justice. What do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. What do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. What do we want it? Now. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is a racist state. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't believe so. No. Israel is a racist state. Ceasefire now. No.
Yeah. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Check. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Neither one of them are working again.
Okay, I'm on number 2. Check, 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 check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. But we had it turned up a minute ago, even after you guys fixed everything. Check, check, check.
Okay. Hello. Now. Justice is our demand.
Hala, hala. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check, check. Check, check. No, it's okay. It's okay. Last time we touched everything. Check. You always want to grab it. Yeah. Okay, it's not good. Nothing. Okay, I can see it here coming here, but for some reason it's not coming. Is there anything up here that's a problem?
Palestine.
Mine, NGP, and my YouTube page.
The people united will never be defeated. 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 The people united will never be defeated.
Hey Biden, what you say?
Hey Biden, what you say?
How many kids did you kill today?
How many kids you killed today?
Hey Biden, what you say?
Hey Biden, what you say?
How many kids did you kill today?
How many kids you killed today?
Hey Biden, what you say?
Hey Biden, what you say?
How many kids did you kill today?
How many kids you killed today?
Joe Biden, you can't hide.
Joe Biden, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Addison Hatton. I am a Palestinian American and a member of NGP on New Generation for Palestine, and I just want to thank you all for coming out this evening. If we could please just give a quick round of applause for everyone who did show up today. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the organizational and individual partners who helped ensure the success of this event, along with the continued support in all communities organizing to get justice for a free Palestine. The purpose of this event is to ensure our voices are heard. As we continue to hold on to some of the wins we have seen within South Africa and the ICJ, and Yemen with the current blockade to save our beloved Palestinian and Lebanese friends and family, we still need to continue to push forward. Pushing forward to save humanity from this unsafe Zionist entity that our politicians like Joe Biden and unequivocally support. We need to continue to boycott, educate ourselves and others around us in order to make sure that we can truly find justice and have a free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Thank you.
Vote Biden to the hate! 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 We vote Biden to the hate!
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now. What is this? Ceasefire now. Good evening, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Good night. How's everybody doing? I know that we are a very lively crowd here tonight. My name is Ahmed Zahid. I'm proud to speak to all of you here today in the name of New Generation for Palestine, also the Arab American Political Action Committee, AIPAC. That's the good AIPAC. We have an AIPAC here in Dearborn. It's the good one. We are here today as Arabs, Palestinians, and all those who stand with us to say in a loud and united voice, please put your phones on silent. We are here today to say in a loud and united voice to everyone around the world, thank you. Thank you to everyone here today for standing up for the truth and justice in the face of major pressure on all fronts. Thank you for being here. Showing up does matter. And when we do it in principle and with numbers like we will in November, no one can stop us. Today, in a major development, the Chicago City Council passed a ceasefire resolution. That makes it now the largest city in the country, a city of millions, I think about 4 million people. Now, the vote there was so close that a tie had to be broken by the newly elected mayor, Brandon Johnson. And so to Chicago and our brothers and sisters there, we say thank you. We are doing a lot of thank you tonight to the Dearborn Heights City Council. You know, we know that Chicago did what they did, but they were following our lead here in Michigan, because we do lead the way in all of the fights for Palestine around the country. We say thank you, especially here in Michigan, where our Yemeni and Bengali brothers and sisters in Hamtramck, they were the first city on October 24th by a unanimous vote to pass a ceasefire resolution. And so to Hamtramck, we say thank you. Actually, let's learn a little bit of Arabic tonight. I know most of you know. For those of you who don't know how to say thank you in Arabic, we say shukran. Repeat after me, shukran. So to people in Hamtramck, we say shukran. Dearborn Heights City Council, led by council members Hassan Ahmed, Mo Beydoun, and Dave Abdullah, they unanimously passed a ceasefire resolution. With the support of almost all the elected officials in Dearborn Heights, including the city treasury and the city clerk. And so to Dearborn Heights, we say shukran. And to the Dearborn City Council, where their resolution was pushed forward by council members Mustafa Hammoud and Mike Serini, that was also passed unanimously. And so we say to the Dearborn City Council, shukran. And of course, to our mayor, who not only has vigorously supported the ceasefire resolution, but who has also been at the forefront of speaking up against apartheid, occupation, and racism in all forms. And for his principled stance in refusing to meet with the Biden campaign last week here in Michigan. I don't know if you noticed, but he has kind of made national headlines for that. He's appearing everywhere from PBS to CNN. And so to our Mayor Abdullah Hammoud, we say thank you. And we should be proud that the first major American city, all the way back in November, to pass a ceasefire resolution was right here in Detroit. Right here in Detroit, where in November, Councilwoman Gabriela Santiago Romero, she led the drive to pass the ceasefire resolution. And so we say thank you to Detroit. And the Wayne County Executive has also called on Israel to stop intentionally starving Palestinians. So to the Wayne County Executive Warren Evans and the Deputy County Executive Esad Turfi, we say thank you. Also, at the County Commission, a ceasefire resolution passed by a 14-1 vote. And we know that took a lot of work, led by Commissioners Al Haydous, David Knizik, and especially our own commissioner here in Dearborn, Sam Beydoun. And so, to Commissioner Beydoun in Wayne County, we say thank you. To our state representatives, Aaron Burns, Al Abbas Farhat, and Majority Floor Leader Ibrahim Ayash, who have all stood strongly for Palestinian rights and freedom, we say thank you. To candidate Nasser Beydoun, who was running a principled campaign for the U.S. Senate against establishment candidates and AIPAC, the bad AIPAC, we say thank you. To Ann Arbor, where our sister Rima Muhammad, a member of the Ann Arbor School Board, she pushed hard to get a ceasefire resolution passed there, and that happened 2 weeks ago as well. And so we say thank you. Ceasefire resolutions have also been passed in the city of Ann Arbor, Canton, Kalamazoo, Washtenaw County, and Ypsilanti. So if anyone questions our political power in Michigan, they might want to think twice. They might want to think twice, because when we have our people in power and we know how to lobby our causes, we get things done and we get things passed. And whether we are a group of 10,000 marching the streets or a few hundred here in our communities, we are going to make sure that our voices are heard from here to November. And I have a couple more thank yous, especially to our queen, who is in Washington tonight doing the people's work, who has been viciously attacked by everybody, Republicans and Democrats. She has stood her ground proudly while steadfastly enduring on the floor of representatives as her fellow congresspeople from both parties shamelessly censured her for saying, well, we all know what she said, so let's say it for her. From the river to the sea. Louder, from the river to the sea. We are not ashamed to say from the river to the sea. No one will ever make us ashamed to say from the river to the sea. If you think that from the river to the sea is a call for genocide and a call for the denial of other people's rights, well, maybe that's because for all these years when Israel's been saying from the river to the sea, it was a denial of other people's rights. But guess what? When we say it, we mean everybody. And believe it or not, Israel is not our example. We're not trying to be like them. Just because they say something don't mean we're trying to be like them. So don't think that we are trying to be like them. That's what they say. I'm not a psychologist, but I think that's called projection. And we are not interested in that. And they are afraid of her in Congress because she speaks the truth unapologetically, loudly. By the way, not just for us, whether it's for Palestinian rights, black rights, indigenous rights, the rights of the poor, the right to breathe clean air. She was always on the right side of justice. And so, in a very loud voice to our queen and our Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, we say, thank you. And we are here to say thank you to our brave brothers and sisters in our homelands, to those in Gaza who refuse to leave their land no matter what. I'm sure they all thought that if we are vicious enough, if we kill enough of them, they will all line up and ask to leave. But guess what? They are not asking to leave. They are going to stay in their homelands. We are not going to have a replay of 1948. We are going to stay in our lands no matter what. They are risking their lives to speak the truth. We've seen that with our brothers and sisters Mu'taz and Bisan and Hind and Wa'il and Salah and even 9-year-old little Lema, as you see her now on Instagram, going around speaking the truth. You know, right now, the hospitals, for those of you who don't know much about Palestinians, you should know that we love each other very much, which means right now, the hospitals in Gaza, what's left of them, and they will all return, are full of martyrs and injured people. But one day when this war ends, and it will end very soon, 9 months after that, the hospitals there and every hospital around the world that has Palestinians near it is going to be full of mothers having babies. Because we are going to make sure that all the rest of our generations know who we are and are proud. And so we say thank you to all of our people in Gaza. And we do say and are proud to say in a very loud voice, thank you to our brothers and sisters in Lebanon. Our brothers and sisters in Lebanon. We are not ashamed to say thank you to the resistance there, who just by their presence have caused a major evacuation of the north. And let's be clear, we want everybody to be able to return home, including all the Palestinians around the world. But it has to be done on the basis of peace and justice. Justice before peace. And so if you have a country where you are afraid to live close to another country, maybe that's your problem, not theirs. And so we have to make sure that we say to our brothers and sisters in Lebanon very loudly, thank you. And we say very loudly and also and without shame, and no matter how much the administration might want to label them with the T word, or no matter how much anybody would like to shame them and say that they are committing crimes on the seas, we say to the people who are causing a little toll plaza in the middle of the Red Sea, we say to them very loudly, to our brothers and sisters in the Quwat al-Musallaha al-Yamaniya, to our brothers and sisters in Yemen who are risking their lives and now living under the bombs of America, bombs sent by this president. We say to them in a very loud voice, say it with me, thank you. We say again, thank you. And I know a lot of you were watching TV at 7 a.m. last Friday as the ICJ handed down their decision. And as we all sat there watching, I know people watched that, and I know me and a lot of other lawyers in the room, we were knowing that this was a big win, and other people were saying we didn't get everything we want. And I understand these sentiments, especially in these times. But we have to understand, with the ICJ, that the ICJ declared very clearly that there is a plausible case of genocide against the Israelis. That is what they were asked to declare, and that is what they declared. They were not asked to determine finally whether or not genocide, that could take years. They were asked to declare that there could be a case, and they said there was. And they were asked to declare that Palestinians were people who were protected under the Genocide Convention and international law. And believe it, as crazy as it sounds that we need somebody to declare that, they said, yes, Palestinians are protected. And everything, just about everything, that the South African lawyers asked for, they achieved and they received from the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And they worked very hard, and we saw them standing there with their South African scarves and their Palestinian scarves. And we know of the long history that exists between the Palestinian people and all Arab people fighting for freedom and our brothers and sisters in South Africa. As Nelson Mandela once said, our justice is incomplete, or our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. And as he also said when he was asked in the 90s, when he came here, he was asked in the 90s how he accepts the help of terrorist groups like Yasser Arafat in Cuba and Libya. And he said very clearly that we are in the middle of a struggle. And our attitude towards any country is determined by the attitude of that country towards our struggle. And so we say, if you stand with us, we say thank you. And no country has done it more. There have been people who have been just as good, but no country has dedicated more resources now and done it more and spent their human manpower and their talent more. And we say thank you to our brothers and sisters in South Africa who have stood up for us. Yeah, you can stand for South Africa, stand up for South Africa. We say thank you to South Africa. We say thank you to South Africa for everything that they have done. And they were dancing in the streets after the decision, and we will dance here in Dearborn as well after the decision. So we say with a loud voice, say it with me, to South Africa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, have a seat because it's about to be not as nice as it was before. Now, I spent a lot of time saying thank you because we have gained a lot of positive developments. And we have a lot of people who stand with us, and our political power here in Michigan is real. It is real. And they are scared of us. But there is someone who I'm not thanking tonight. Someone who is visiting tomorrow. And while we thank the UAW for being in favor of a ceasefire, we do not thank their guest. And we Arabs, let me say this, as everyone knows, we Arabs are a very hospitable people. We are very generous. You can come to our house without knocking on the door. We will ask you to stay when we really want you to leave. We are a very generous, beautiful people, but we have our limits. We have our limits. You cannot kill our people every day enthusiastically. You cannot say that you saw beheaded babies when you didn't. You cannot say that you don't believe that we are dying in the numbers that we say we are dying in. On October 25th, he said we are lying about dying. He said he didn't believe the numbers. Then he said he wants to give $14 billion more to the Israelis so they can drop more American missiles on our hospitals. Go ahead. Genocide Joe. Genocide Joe. $14 billion more dollars. And he said quite proudly that it would be given to Israel without any conditions on whether or not they follow international law. This is a president who has proudly said many times, I am a Zionist. No president has ever said that. He's a president who has said since 1986, if there were no Israel, we'd have to invent an Israel. Well, guess what? They did invent an Israel, and it kills babies, and it bombs hospitals, and it bombs mosques, and it bombs churches, the fourth oldest church in the world. Because yes, believe it or not, Palestinians are the first Christians in the world. I don't know if you ever went to Sunday school, but Jesus was one of us. And so we are saying in a quite loud voice that we do not thank him. When he was asked yesterday about the attack on American soldiers in Jordan, he was asked if he blamed Iran. And he said, well, I'm not going to do his voice. He said, well, I blame Iran in as much as they are the ones giving the weapons to these people. Well, I guess then if we are blaming countries when they give weapons to people, then America must be the biggest war criminal in the world. Then America, unfortunately, and we are ashamed to say as Americans, that it has been giving $3 to $4 billion at least a year, 14 billion more, $250 billion since 1948, without conditions, without accounting, to fund the genocide of our people, which did not only start on October 7th, been an ongoing campaign since 1948. When his press secretary today was asked about, I need you to listen to this. I don't know if you watched it. This came up a few hours ago. They were in the press room, and his press secretary was asked, President Biden is going to Michigan tomorrow. We know he has some trouble with Arab voters there. What's he going to tell them? And she said, he's going to say that Israel has a right to defend itself. This is the message coming from the Biden administration to us. Nothing has changed since October 7th. In fact, they've only become more entrenched in their support for this genocide. And so while we have a lot of people to say thank you to around the world, because we are winning, and our message is getting out there, and it is very clear. But another thing is very clear. They think that in a few months from now, we are going to forget. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. They think that we are just going to line up and do what they tell us to do. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. We are not going to forget. We are not going to forget grandfathers holding their dead granddaughters and saying Ruh al-Ruh. We're not going to forget. We are not going to forget that he not only supported the genocide of our people in Palestine and the bombing of our people in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and everywhere else. We are also going to remember that he helped foster, as the President of the United States, an atmosphere of dehumanization, an atmosphere of saying that we were monsters when we weren't, an atmosphere of saying that we were lying about our own deaths, which dehumanizes a group of people, which leads to a 6-year-old boy getting stabbed 26 times in Chicago, which leads to 3 Palestinian college students in Vermont being shot simply for wearing the keffiyehs that you all are wearing here tonight. So we are not interested in conversations with this campaign or this administration. We say to everybody, I heard a rumor that they're trying to sit down with families tomorrow. It is not going to happen. We are saying to everybody that we are not going to sit down with this administration or this campaign. They have to call for a ceasefire. He could make a phone call tomorrow and put an end to all of this. He has chosen not to. And so we say with a very clear and loud voice, shame. Shame. We say shame. Shame. They think we're going to forget. Are we going to forget? Are we going to forget? We are going to be more energized this year than we have ever been. And we have done so much work. I'm here, and Abed Hamoud from AIPAC is here, the founder. We know we've been doing work on the ground electorally for 25 years in this community. And we know that every year has gotten better, and we are encouraging people to get involved in the electoral process, and we've made a lot of progress, but nothing has gotten our people more involved than a genocide happening with the support of this presidency. And so to President Biden, we say quite clearly, you are not welcome in our community. And we ask people to remember because they think we're going to forget. They think in a few months from now, and there will be people from our community in a few months from now that are going to walk around and say, hey, everything's okay. The other side is worse. The other side is not our problem. They're going to try to make it our problem, but it is not our problem. We are not going to give our votes to somebody who has literally funded the genocide of our children. And so we need to keep our energy and our justified anger going. The election is still 9 months away, more than 9 months away. So we have to make sure that we keep our eyes on the prize. Is everybody with me? Is everybody with me? We have to make sure that we keep speaking up for the people of Palestine. So while I laid the groundwork, sorry I spoke too much, but we are going to have a few short speakers. We have been so fortunate in our community to have elected officials and candidates who are so principled on what we are doing and what we are standing for. And like I said in my opening remarks, this man made sure, he worked for weeks, and I was so honored to work with him, weeks to make sure that the Wayne County Commission would finally pass a ceasefire resolution. He was rebuffed many times, but he did not give up. He kept going back to the commission and made sure finally that there was a strong ceasefire resolution that passed by a 14-1 vote. So please help me welcome our brother from right here in Dearborn, Commissioner Sam Beydoun. Ceasefire now!
I'm a little bit taller than Amir. Assalamu alaikum. So last week, President Biden's campaign team extended an invitation to engage with elected officials and members from the Arab American community. I was one of those elected officials. Of course, I declined the invitation. Rather than talk about the genocide that has shocked our conscience and shook the moral foundation of our country, the Biden campaign team wanted to talk about the election and how they can regain the votes of the Arab American community in Southeast Michigan. Because according to the latest poll numbers, if the election was held today, Biden would lose the state of Michigan. You know, back in October, I had an interview with CNN, and she asked me, and I told her if the election was held today, Biden would not get 5 votes. That was back in October. I'm not sure about even 1 vote from Arab Americans in Dearborn today. Well, guess what, folks? The message is very clear from our perspectives as Arab Americans. At the present time, the only numbers we are concerned with are the following numbers. Over 27,500 Palestinians, mostly women and children, have been killed in this genocidal war in Gaza. Over 65,000 have been injured. Over 8,000 Palestinians are missing and presumed dead and buried under their destroyed homes. Now listen to this statistics. Over 70% of the American people are calling for a ceasefire, and yet the president is refusing to listen to those who voted for him in 2020. Over 80% of the homes in Gaza have been destroyed. Over 2 million people have been displaced, creating another Nakba a lot bigger than the Nakba of 1948. At the present time, when there's a genocide being waged against the Palestinians and funded by our government, we are not interested in what the political map looks like for the president and how many swing states he needs to get reelected. We're not interested in that. The Arab American community has been calling for a ceasefire and demanding basic justice for the Palestinian people for over 3 months now. And those calls have fallen on deaf ears. When it comes to acknowledging the Palestinians' humanity, we have heard only radio silence. But now the people who are supporting this genocide against our will with our tax dollars want to ask for our votes. It is a travesty of democracy to ignore our voices for over 115 days, and then to assume our principles are up for negotiation. You know, I've been very consistent in my position as a Wayne County Commissioner in elevating the demands from our community for an immediate end of this genocide in Gaza. A lasting ceasefire, a commitment to justice for the Palestinian people. So this past year, on December 19, the Wayne County Commission passed overwhelmingly a resolution calling for a ceasefire. I know this resolution is symbolic, but it's very meaningful to the 150,000 Arab Americans who live in Wayne County and have been impacted by this genocidal war. Like the Dearborn pharmacist who lost 80 members of his family in one day. Can you imagine losing 80 members of your family in one day? As I stated before, and I'll repeat it here tonight, this is not a religious war between Islam and Judaism. In fact, many of our Jewish friends and neighbors are standing up and saying not in our name and demanding a ceasefire. Like members from the Jewish Voices for Peace, and one of them is here tonight. Thank you, Josh, for standing up for justice. Friends, community members, we can no longer remain silent in the face of injustice. Until they call for a ceasefire and true justice for the Palestinian people, until our leaders in Washington recognize the full humanity of Palestinians, we have nothing to talk about. Actions speak louder than words. Let me end by taking a moment to thank the country of South Africa for rising as a beacon of justice on the world stage. Thank you very much. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
Our next speaker coming to the stage is someone who you've seen at some of our events, and he has been someone who has spoken justice and principle and fired up our crowds wherever we've been, whether it's been in Hart Plaza or an International Day of Solidarity back in November. But he is a member of an organization here called JVP, who has done a number of great works around, whether it's shutting down senators' offices or shutting down Grand Central Station in New York City or shutting down Congress. You've seen them all over the place. So please help me welcome our brother, Joshua Feinstein.
Good evening, Dearborn. Good evening. And first of all, to Sam Beydoun, I was in the room when Sam and his staff, through righteous force of will and not giving up, passed that resolution for Wayne County. And if we're going to do a thank you, whoever Sam is, thank you, Sam. And when I look around here, for sure, I see that Palestine has true friends and allies, whether it's Yemen or Lebanon or South Africa. All around the world, every day now, in every city, in every nation, you can hear the words, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! And yet, the reality is that the Israeli oppression and violence still looms large every day. So bear with me as I recount a quick firsthand experience. Earlier this month, I was in the living room of my in-laws' apartment, half a world away, in Beirut, Lebanon, when a missile, which was launched by the Israeli military, struck a residential building down the block from our home. My reaction was I went to see if my family was safe, of course, and checked to see if everyone was all right. But then I turned to my father-in-law and I said, can you believe this? And in the face of danger, he was unfazed. The people of this region are so used to the Israelis making incursions and taking these attacks on civilians with impunity. They've become used to it. But the remarkable part is the resilience of the peoples of the Middle East. There's an inner strength, a determination that has been sharpened by decades of enduring the threat of Israeli aggression as part of everyday life. Now, make no mistake, that attack in Beirut was nothing compared to the hell that is being forced upon the innocent Palestinians in Gaza. It is a subjugation, an ethnic cleansing on par with the Holocaust, with South African apartheid, and with 400 years of segregation and oppression here in America. And that is why, when we found out that the microphone didn't work, we just went to voice. Carry on, right? We found out that South Africa is charging Israel with genocide. We dared to have hope that the Israeli reign of terror and unaccountability and impunity is beginning to come to an end. And that the wheels of justice, although they do turn slowly, they eventually come around full circle. And justice is unfortunately something that our current president does not understand. See, President Biden, and Amma made notice of this earlier, my friends, he does have the power to stop this genocide. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. In 1982, when the Israelis besieged and invaded Beirut, then President Ronald Reagan picked up the phone to Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin and said, "Get your army and get your tanks out of Beirut now." And do you know what's happened? With that one phone call from the United States president, the Israelis withdrew their tanks from Beirut. And that as they did so, the Israeli Prime Minister announced that a complete ceasefire had been ordered. Yes, in one phone call, a ceasefire was indeed declared. On the contrary, today, President Joe Biden continues to withhold the simple ceasefire and insists instead on sending more weapons to Israel. My friends, right now, please, I'd like you to take a moment and think about the top reason as to why you will not vote for Joe Biden in the coming election. I can help you. It is an image of a hungry or orphaned child barefoot. Or perhaps, thank you, Amr. Or perhaps it is a mother bereaving as she holds her infant child who is dead in her arms. Or maybe it's men digging through the rubble with their bare hands, hoping to find survivors. These images are countless and they are too much to bear. But I ask you now to hold one in your mind. When you go home tonight, write this reason on a piece of paper. And on election day, remember this night. Remember this pain. Remember this agony. Mr. Biden, we will remember how you turned your back on us, how you ignored our voice. And yesterday we asked you for a ceasefire and you said no. And tomorrow you will ask for our votes and we will say no. Yes, my friends, we will say no. Now, it's been more than 100 days and we don't know when the bloodshed will end, but please, keep standing up, keep speaking up, and keep demanding a permanent ceasefire. And most of all, stand together with us arm in arm as we say again and again in one loud voice, ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Thank you. Fire now! Straight to beer. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Next we have, please, coming to the stage. He is running for Senate, and he has been running on a principled campaign from the beginning, and a campaign that has been against AIPAC, and a campaign that has been always centering Palestine and the fight for Palestinian rights. So please help me welcome our brother, Senate candidate Nasser Beydoun.
Good evening. You know, as I stand here in this auditorium, I think back when I graduated high school here at Fordson 42 years ago. Many of you weren't even born then, but I remember a political climate in the city of Dearborn and in the United States that's vastly different than it is today. Maybe Zuhair remembers, you know, it was a Dearborn where a mayor won an election on let's talk about the Arab problem.
Yeah.
It was a country that candidates refused to take donations from Arab and Muslim Americans. They would return the checks, like Hillary Clinton. Fast forward to today, where our community stands between this country, this president, and re-election. We have the power to punish. In politics, how can you help me? How can you hurt me? Well, Joe Biden has lost any consideration of help, regardless of what he does from here to November. Unless, like Jesus Christ, he returns 30,000 from the dead, he has no say or hope of ever getting a single vote from our community.
Never. It's got to go. Genocide Joe has got to go. Genocide Joe has got to go. Genocide Joe has got to go.
Now they're going to say, well, look at, if you don't vote for Biden, look who might become president. I say this, that person that might become president wasn't responsible for the death of 30,000 Palestinians. And if you want to talk about character, let's talk about Joe Biden's character. 50 years Joe Biden was in Washington. He is the largest recipient of AIPAC money in the history of Washington. He started his career as a segregationist. If you can't discharge your student loans today in bankruptcy, you know why? Because Joe Biden sponsored the bill. If there's an overwhelming number of Black Americans in prison today, it's because of Joe Biden's prison reform. If you remember when he ran for president, he dropped out because he plagiarized most of his speeches. So lying about the 40 babies wasn't the first time that Joe Biden lied. He is not that gentle grandfather type. Joe Biden is a killer.
Joe Biden is a killer.
Joe Biden is a killer.
Joe
Biden is a killer.
Joe Biden is a killer. Joe Biden is a killer.
Joe Biden is a killer.
Joe Biden is complacent in a genocide. And as an American, like all of you here, I don't want my president to be complacent in a genocide, and I don't want my president to be a Zionist. I want my president to be an American.
That's right.
Now, we have work to do, like Amr said. We have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of allies. You know, Josh, I want to thank you and your organization. They do amazing work. And you know what? This is the only time in history when we can attack AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby and not worry about the connotation of being anti-Semitic.
We're
Because
Semites.
we have so many people in the Jewish community that stands with us, and people also forget that we are just as Semitic as they are.
That's right.
And I say that Jews have a right to live in the Arab world and in the Middle East just like Muslims, just like Christians, like everybody else. The problem is not with the religion. The problem is with the fascist, genocidal ideology of Zionism. So, my friends, we are here today, and from every day till November, or from every day till February, we want to make sure that we are registering people to vote. They think we're not going to go to the polls. They think that we're going to be so disgusted with the process that we are just going to let it happen. But they're in for a rude awakening. We are going to go to the polls, and we're going to take our parents to the polls. We're going to take our children to the polls. We're going to take our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, our dogs and cats to the polls. And we're going to vote, because Michigan is what's going to make or break this presidency. And the other thing we have to remember is that prior to October 7th, we thought we had friends in politics. Well, every one of those so-called friends that have refused till this day to call for a ceasefire, we're going to hold them accountable at future polls. I'm running for Debbie Stabenow's seat. She was one of the people that signed the letter to Blinken denying the genocide. So was Gary Peters. So was my opponent, Alyssa Slotkin. So we have to make sure we remember everybody that didn't stand with humanity, because they don't represent us. They don't represent the American people. And we are going to show the nation what humanity looks like, and that you can support Palestine and call for a free Palestine from the river to the sea without ever worrying about, as Amr said, the ramifications. Because here in Michigan, we're going to show you how it's done. Thank you.
Millions in the billions. We are all Palestinians.
We are all Palestinians.
We are all Palestinians.
Nasser said something very important. They think we're going to forget. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. The biggest lie they tell about us is that we hate people. Do we hate people for who they are? No. Do we hate people for who they are? No. We hate occupation. We hate apartheid. We hate racism. We hate injustice. We don't hate anybody for who they are. Don't let them distract you. They will keep trying to distract you. It's been 120 days, and Joe Biden hasn't called for a ceasefire. He's not the only one. It's been 120 days, and Debbie Stabenow hasn't called for a ceasefire. And Gary Peters hasn't called for a ceasefire. And Governor Whitmer hasn't called for a ceasefire. And Secretary Benson hasn't called for a ceasefire. And Representative Slotkin hasn't called for a ceasefire. And Representative Stevens hasn't called for a ceasefire. Sometimes we might think we're a little lucky because we have Rashida, but we have to understand that we have a lot of battles to fight out there, and they think that we are going to forget. Are we going to forget? No. Are we going to forget? No. We are going to stand here until November. Our next speaker coming up is someone who has been, even though he's only in early 20s, how old are you? 20? 23, but still been on the front lines of political activism since he was a teenager here. And someone who has been knocked doors in 2020 for a certain candidate, and now he's pledging that he's not going to do it again, and we're very happy to have him as one of our board members on New Generation for Palestine. Please help me welcome our little brother, Adam Abu Salah.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
So Ahmed said something that I was hoping we could keep a secret, but in 2020, I did something bad and I worked for Joe Biden. So I apologize. But you know, 4 years ago, we're all guilty. But
We all are guilty.
4 years ago, we looked at somebody like Joe Biden and we thought that he would be somebody who could lead with humanity and compassion, and we were wrong. And instead, he has led with hypocrisy. So to Joe Biden, who is visiting our state tomorrow, we say, Matrah Majid, Irja. You can go back to where you came from. We will not support.
Go away, Sleepy Joe.
You know, Joe Biden, a few months before October 7th, was refusing to meet with Netanyahu in the White House. But now, with everything that is going on, and because of the AIPAC money, he's defending Netanyahu every opportunity he gets. And Netanyahu is someone, because he's losing the PR war so bad, he's coming out and saying that this is a religious war. Is it a religious war? No! It's not. They say that everything that we say, every move that we make is anti-Semitic. Our very existence as Palestinians right now has become anti-Semitic. When we say free Palestine, it has become anti-Semitic. But one thing that they don't know is that one of our strongest allies here in the United States are our brothers and sisters from Jewish Voices for Peace. So to all of our brothers and sisters who have been shutting down the Rotunda building in Congress, who have been shutting down train stations in New York, who have been getting arrested in the hundreds, to all our Jewish brothers and sisters from Jewish Voices from Peace, we say thank you.
Thank you.
But to Joe Biden and to the American elites who are so upset that the American people are waking up and they're starting to realize what's going on in this country, that they're realizing that we are sending $14 billion right now to Israel to continue its war crimes on the Palestinian people. Yet we don't have the money to fund our schools. We don't have money to give every American health care. People are dying because they are freezing out in the cold on the streets. Yet we have $14 billion to send to Israel to continue its genocide on the people of Gaza. So to Joe Biden and to all the American politicians who are protecting them, we say we see you, we will not forget, and that in November, you are going to have to face consequences for your actions. And to them, I say that you cannot protect one group at all costs from violence in all its forms and watch another group get mass executed in front of the world and act like it's okay. You can't call one group a terrorist group who is living under occupation and watch another group mass execute them in front of the world and claim that they have a right to defend themselves. You cannot watch, and I can't believe I am saying this, you cannot watch children, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, begging for basic human rights, begging for a meal, begging for clean water, begging for their parents who were killed by Israeli war crimes. You cannot watch that and act like it's okay. So people want to ask me, they say, well, Adam, you worked for this guy 4 years ago. Will you vote for him in November? My answer is absolutely not. I cannot vote for somebody who has lied time and time again. And those lies have resulted in people getting hurt, not only in the United States, but in Palestine too. They have resulted in a 6-year-old being stabbed 26 times in Chicago by his landlord. How do you expect me to vote for someone like that? How? I will not vote for him, and I'm pretty sure I can speak on behalf of a lot of people in my community that we will not vote for him in November. No, Genocide Joe. No, Genocide Joe. So I want to end with this. My message to you all is this. We must continue to keep this movement going. And we must continue until we dismantle the systematic oppression that is ingrained in both U.S. foreign policy and U.S. foreign aid. Policies that have aided in indiscriminate war crimes. Policies that have led to the murder of Palestinians in masses and to the displacement of over 2 million Gazans. We must put pressure on all politicians, whether they like it or not, until we see Palestine is no longer an occupied territory. And until then, we will continue to march on the streets. We will continue to scream and shout, "Free, free Palestine," until Palestine is free. Thank you all for coming.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
All right, our next speaker here is the co-chair of the Abandon Biden campaign. She's been a candidate as well in our city before, and one of our most politically active sisters. Please help me welcome our sister, our Yemeni sister, Samra Luqman.
Thank you, Ahmed. I'm shorter than them. I don't know if I can get that to work. Okay. So I want to thank NGP and everybody and the organizers for having us, and specifically for having the Abandon Biden campaign. I have really two goals in speaking to you today, and I'm going to keep it short, not just because you guys are falling asleep, but because I have anxiety. So the first one is to tell Biden, obviously, that he's unwelcome in our community. And the second one is to get you guys to go out and vote. I'd like you guys to whip out your phones and mark your calendars for February 27th. Because on that day, it's not a protest. It's actually the best form of protest. It's the primary election day. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers and statistics of the 13,000 tank shells, the hundreds of millions that Biden sent over to Israel bypassing Congress, or the numbers of people killed. I will bore you with an analogy, though. 100,000 people in Gaza have been either killed, are buried under the rubble, or are wounded right now. And that's basically equivalent to the entire city of Dearborn's population being completely either massacred, wounded, or missing. The entire city of Dearborn. Just imagine if in 3 months, our entire city, the population was wiped out. And for this, he is a genocidal maniac and a war criminal. He is the one that supported those bombs and those things that killed those people. He is unwelcome in Michigan, and I want you to send that message using your voice. You are all my brothers and sisters, no matter the race, the color, the religion, the creed. But to Biden, you are nothing but a number. And that's why he sent his campaign manager out to us last week and nobody from his policy team. You are a photo opportunity, and if you are approached, you should reject it. And the children of Gaza and the people of Gaza who are dying are nothing but a nuisance and a political liability. For us in Michigan, we are wanting to tell Biden in the most uncertain terms, you are not welcome here. And much like Pelosi tells us to go back to China just because we are pro-Palestine supporters, we want to tell Biden to go back to Israel. On the last point about the primaries for the Democratic and Republican nominees are both going to be held on February 27th. The Abandon Biden message is to get you out to vote. If you're disenfranchised, if you're angry, if you're hurt, you need to go out to vote. We have flyers out that tell you how you should vote in order to send your message to Abandon Biden. You either vote uncommitted on your party's ballot, you write in Free Palestine, or you vote for another candidate, anybody but Biden. At the end of the day, our goal is exactly that, to free Palestine. Thank you.
What Samrat says is very important. On February 27th, I'm going to ask all the speakers except our last speaker, actually everybody, all the speakers to come up to the stage, including Maryam and Zakaria. Can you come join us up here, please? While they're coming up here, it's important February 27th here in Michigan that everybody go out and vote. The presidential primaries, you have two choices when you go to the ballot box. One of them will be the Republican primary. One of them will be the Democratic primary. They're going to ask you which one you want to take, okay? And do whatever you want, but don't vote for President Biden. Just do whatever you want. We're not telling everybody to do something specific. Do whatever you want, but go out and vote. In some places like Dearborn or Dearborn Heights, there are other things on the ballot, like the school millage. And there'll be political action committees that have recommendations about that as well. But in those places, you'll get 3 ballots, okay? Or choice of 3 ballots. So you can pick the ballot that has only the millage and neither of the presidential candidates if you want. Do whatever you want, but make sure you vote and make sure you don't vote for Biden. All right, our last speaker here today is from another organization that I am very proud as well to be a board member of. That's the Arab American Civil Rights League. And she has led an amazing, amazing drive in the last few months. As some of you might heard, many Palestinian Americans were stranded in Gaza. And the ACRL, under her leadership, was instrumental, the leading force in suing the Biden administration, taking legal action, political action, whatever it took to make sure that our people were able to get out of there and be treated like Americans, like anywhere else in the world. And what she encountered was discrimination and racism at every stop, but she never stopped. And she kept going forward to make sure that our people are protected. And she's here tonight with, you've seen our brother on the news as well, with someone who we were able to get out of Gaza. So please help me welcome our sister from the ACRL, Mariam Sharara, and our brother, Zakaria Al-Rayashi.
Thank you so much, Amma. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. I stand before you today, moved by the spirit of our community and the pressing need to halt the genocide happening in Gaza. Our journey began with a mission to rescue U.S. citizens trapped amidst the war zone, notably beginning with Zakaria Al-Raishi from Michigan. Zakaria, an American citizen, embodies the principles of our nation, a law-abiding citizen, a businessman who not only contributes to the economy by employing others, but also participates actively in our democracy, having cast his vote for President Biden. Amidst the ceaseless bombardment and turmoil, Zakaria faced the most unimaginable circumstances, making dangerous attempts to reach the border nearly 6 times, each time uncertain if he would live to see another day. I just want to say, he's home, he's alive, he's well. Now, his only wish is to bring his family here too, as they are still suffering back in the war zone, facing the same harsh realities he once did. Our hotline became a source of hope. As call after call, we orchestrated the safe return of 60 Americans to their families. This effort was met with many challenges, and it begs the question, why the delay? Why are our citizens who faithfully fulfill their civic duties, pay their taxes, and voted for President Biden still being treated as second-class individuals? It's more deeply concerning that there are still Americans trapped in the midst of this genocide. What factors are contributing to the situation, and what more can be done to ensure their safe return? They have dispatched charter flights and ships to evacuate people from war zones, effectively orchestrating rescues in various countries. However, it's taking almost 4 months to bring American Palestinians out. The US government has successfully facilitated safe pathways for individuals from countries such as Ukraine, Venezuela, Afghanistan. So we strongly urge the same efforts to be extended to our American Palestinians, ensuring their safe and timely evacuation. In response to this crisis, the ACRL has spearheaded the Gaza Family Project, a humanitarian initiative to reunite families. We've mobilized a powerful coalition of over 115 attorneys across the nation, ready to lend their expertise to our cause. Together, we're filing humanitarian parole applications and aiming to bring 230 family members in Gaza to the safety of their American family citizens. But our task isn't just paperwork. It involves mobilizing communities to ensure our voices are heard, to remind our leaders of their duty to protect our citizens' welfare. Consider the heart-wrenching narrative of a Detroit police officer, a part of our extended family. He shared with us photos and videos that paint a devastating picture of his family's life in Gaza. Tents for homes in the chills of the night, scarce food and water, all under the constant threat of bombardment. Images of his childhood home, now a pile of rubble. The playgrounds of his youth shattered. Imagine the psychological toll. The helplessness felt when faced with the devastation of your homeland and the fear of your loved ones' lives. Imagine the mental, the physical, and the emotional toll on these individuals. who serve our community with distinction, yet live in constant fear for their family's safety. How are they supposed to do their job? How are they supposed to protect our communities? Our plea is clear. We call upon our government to forge a pathway for our brothers and sisters to reunite them with their families here. It is time for our nation to extend the same dignity, the same rights, and the same compassion to Arab American citizens as it does to all others. This isn't just a mission for reuniting families. It's to preserve our collective effort on mental health and our well-being. In solidarity, we find not only strength and voice, but a source of hope for those who need it most and that have lost so much. I urge our community to actively reach out to congressional representatives to apply the necessary pressure to bring our families home. Let's continue to be a strong, united voice for those who need it most. Thank you. I'm going to have Zakaria Al-Arachi just say a couple of words.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zakaria Al-Arachi. First thing I want to say thank you to Maryam, thank you to Rashida, and thank you for anyone help us to get out. And one more thing important, I think, I feel it, and I want to ask everyone from the Arab community to vote for Arab people or anyone you see is like good for this, like good, he can help us and help everybody. You can vote for him. And I think everyone is good for us in the Arabic community. And thank you for everything.
We want to say to our brother and Zakaria and his whole family and Maryam, we started this rally off with saying thank you, and we're going to say one more time, thank you. Thank you very much. To everyone here tonight, thank you for coming out. I want you to look at the person next to you and tell them thank you for coming tonight. I want you to look at the person next to you and tell them I'm proud of you. I want you to look at the person next to you and tell them I love you. Everybody be safe. Have a good night. Free, free Palestine.
Free, free Palestine.
And one more thing, remember, before you end the occupation in Palestine, you have to end the occupation of Congress.
It didn't even work.
Just